Hey, Liz.
Hi.
What's happening?
How's it going, dude?
We're recording in two different places today, so I am super psyched about talking to our next guest. So tell us about her.
All right. So today we are talking to Ashley Borell Miner. If you don't know her name, you know her company. So she is CEO of Steel Art. She took over the reins about 2 years ago. Same year she won Women in Science from Signs of the Times. So she is just a rock star, and she is definitely on the rise. We're really excited to talk to her today about what it takes to be a leader in a sign company and kind of change from being that employee mindset to a leadership mindset.
Yeah, I'm excited about talking to her. She's really sharp, and the company is just amazing. Anyway, today's episode, before we get started, as always, is brought to you by your friends at Sign Tracker. Sign Tracker comes to you through Inktovo. So if you want to check it out, sign-tracker.com. You can try it free for 2 weeks, no obligations. You have nothing to lose. Just get on there and hit the try it free button. So you can go to sign-tracker.com or inktovo.com to learn all about it. So anyway, let's get rolling with Ashley.
Dad, wait.
What?
Also, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, we could do it without you, but why would we?
Yeah.
Because then I'd just be talking to my dad.
Because we love you guys. And we love the sign industry.
You always take it to we love the sign industry, and I'm just not sure that's accurate. But we are in the sign industry.
And we love it. All right, let's get rolling with Ashley.
All right, everyone. Now we're finally getting to it. So here is Ashley Borell Miner. You know what I should ask? Is that how you say it? Ashley Borell. And I read that it's Miner too.
Yeah.
You say sure.
That's correct.
I have a very complicated last name. So how do you say it?
Borell Miner.
Okay, great.
Miner, yeah.
Ashley Borell Miner. Okay, so we're with Ashley Borell Miner. She is the owner and CEO of Steel Art Co., located in Massachusetts.
Before we get started, I have some important things to point out. First of all, Ashley, I don't know if you were running the company back then, but when I first get into the sign industry, my business partner and I, it was 97. We were ordering signs from you guys.
No, I was 14 in 1997.
Okay,
yeah.
90. All right, so probably it was your pops then.
Definitely, yes. He's been running the company for 52 years.
Yeah, I saw that. And I went to the website today and I thought, man, alive, you guys are doing so much more than when we were ordering from you back in the day, you know. But we would always order. You guys were our resource for like the really high-end brushed aluminum letters and that sort of stuff. But now it's like you have letters with moss on them.
Yes, we grow the moss here. No, we don't.
Besides all that, you're a Bostonian, right? I mean, how far away is the shop from the city?
20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a North Shore boy. I grew up I was born in Medford, and then Medford, Arlington, and then Arlington, and then went to high school in Lawrence, Mass. And that's where I met my lovely bride. And so she's a Massachusetts person too. So what's just more important than this whole interview, I think I need to ask you, what favorite cannoli place in the North End?
Oh, well, Mike's Pastries, of course. Yeah.
Mike's, okay.
Yeah.
Is there even another cannoli place in the North End anymore?
I mean,
that
there's
matters.
There's Modern. It's in the North End, right? But they're pretty good too. But I don't know. Mike's is probably where it's at. I think I agree with you.
Yes. But in Norwood, we have Guarino's. And they're awesome too.
Really?
Right down the
there's
street,
some other good ones too. I mean, and Mike's is great, but it's the tourist place, right? I remember the first time I went there, we were in Texas. My business partner and I were up there visiting with a client. And we decided to take cannolis back to everyone in the shop. And we go in there and I didn't realize it was cash only. And we ordered like 3 dozen cannolis. Thank God, because they would have taken us out back, I'm pretty sure. Because they already had boxed them up, but we had the cash. And so we were able to pay cash for the cannolis, but
I think when I think of Massachusetts, the only real food I miss, I know this is sacrilegious because cannolis really they're not on my list, but Tripoli's pizza is.
Yeah, that's more north.
You just can't. Yeah,
Tripoli's is more like a
man.
doing.
You're so close.
They do have a Tripoli's pizza at Salisbury Beach, though. if
Mhm.
you ever take a drive up
no,
to Salisbury.
I'm from Medfield, and my husband is also from Medfield, so we're high school sweethearts, and we're both from Medfield. And
Well, I'm a New Englander, true and true. Even though I live in Texas now for 30 years, we come to New England all the time. I absolutely love it. So
yeah, yeah, we spent a lot of time in Rhode Island in the summer, in Jamestown, Narragansett, Providence. Yeah,
I love Providence. I think it's an underrated city. I'm just saying.
it really is, especially for the restaurants.
Yep.
Yep.
Great city. The Italian North End, or not North End, I don't know what they call it there in Providence, but the Italian section there, there's some great restaurants.
Is it Federal Hill?
Little Italy.
Federal?
Thank you, Elizabeth. I should know this.
I don't know.
I'm an Italiano. I should know these things.
My husband and I went to Maine for the first time just a couple weeks ago. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I got this T-shirt.
Maine is beautiful.
He
Nice.
did. I got him that T-shirt. Yeah.
Well, we don't get away very often because, we're committed to this place, and, we do weekend trips to the Cape or to Rhode Island. We put a pool in at our house so that we never have to go anywhere. We just try to have fun at our house.
True sign shop owner.
Yeah, we can't go far.
I think the earliest picture that we have is when I was 10, standing outside of your sign shop with the shirt on. I was inundated already.
Yeah. The earliest memory I have is going to work with my dad on Saturday mornings. We used to stop and get McDonald's breakfast. And my sister and I work only 16 months apart. So we'd go to work with my dad on Saturdays and sit at the conference table and color. And that's what we did every Saturday. So I remember the smell. It's got like you smell the lacquers and the dust. And that's my earliest memory of that.
You didn't start your career in the sign industry. You were in furniture. But you did, with your Masters of Global Business and Corporate Responsibility, you really set yourself up for that C-suite path. Was it always your goal to take over the family business? Was the sign industry like what you set your sights on? Or did this come like just as much of a surprise to you?
Yeah, no, it was a surprise in the end. Like, my undergraduate degree is in Holocaust and Genocide Studies.
Wow. Very different.
And that is because my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And my grandfather, Norbert, after surviving the Holocaust, he came and immigrated to the U.S. and started Steel Art. So I thought, in my undergrad, I was very into the Holocaust and Genocide Studies, and that's what my degree is in. And when I graduated with that, I didn't want to be a professor, so I didn't really know what to do. And I went to business school, and the more and more I learned about business, the more interested I got into my dad's business. And we never discussed it. It was not something that was offered or guaranteed. I finished my MBA, and then I went into the workforce. And I was doing furniture sales for a couple of years, and then they gave me my own store. And I was really, really successful. I brought the worst underperforming store to the top performing store out of 42 stores in the country. And I think that got my dad's interest. And he invited me into the company. And that was 12 years ago. But my interest in the Holocaust and Genocide and the whole story of my family, it is all still related to my philosophy on how we treat people and how we support our employees and how we treat our employees, that sense of humanity and dignity. And, I support all my employees as best I can through life. Things get hard. And I just always remember the story of survival and perseverance of my grandparents, and that kind of feeds my philosophy today.
Yeah, that is good. I did see on your website you guys are like best place to work in a bunch of years. Was that in the Boston, Greater Boston?
That's put out by the Boston Globe, top Boston workplaces for our size. I think we're considered a medium-sized business. So that's 7 years. 7 years in a row.
My husband and I own Studio Zoe here in Austin. And when we started it, he had a very corporate job, Dell. So it was very big. And then I had specialized in small businesses. So I saw a lot of examples of like what not to do. My background's accounting. I went to school for accounting. Prior to that, I was a barber, so I understand the like wild change in in path. But when we started this company, our motto that we have stuck by is do good work for good people with good people. And like if we come back to that so many times, and as a relatively young company, I mean, we're 8 years old, so we've faced a lot of very hard times very quickly. And we've just continuously gone back to that model to make sure that we're sourcing the right partners, both as vendors and clients, but then also that we are treating the people that we work with well and making sure that it's a good place for them to be. So I get it. I think that's very important, and not a lot of companies focus on that. So amazing.
It's been my number one focus because that whole story of the American dream coming, my grandparents coming to the U.S. after surviving the Holocaust and building this successful business. We have employees here who joined us with no skills at all, no English, no skills. And we were able to train them. And, we've got guys who have been here for 35, 45 years, making great livings. And that has been the single biggest joy of my professional career, is being able to affect the lives of the people that work for me as best I can. And it comes back, all that goodness you put out there, it comes back.
Yeah, I agree with that. We had a very similar philosophy when I had my bigger sign shop. We had about 60 employees, and we had a lot of non-English speaking folks that worked there. We hired somebody to come in twice a week and teach ESL classes. We reimbursed for community college if they wanted to go and learn to do design. We did all that kind of stuff. We had, stretched ourselves to have really good medical benefits and all that, but it helped for retention. And I mean, that was 25 years ago when I started it, and then sold it about 12 or 13 years ago now, I guess, probably maybe even a few more years than that. But I go over and visit all the time, and so many of the employees are still there. They're just happy,
Yeah,
Thankfully,
that's what gets me up in the morning. Huh?
What's that? I said, well, thankfully, the company that bought us kind of kept a lot of that going. So that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, no, it does. It pays back. And the loyalty and the hard work that you get back is incredible.
So when you came back on board with your dad, I mean, did you just like step into the CEO role from day one, or?
No. Okay. So when I started, I was invited in, and I started, there are these glass windows that separate the shop, the factory, from the office. And my first week, I was Windexing those windows, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have a title. It was very open-ended. Like I was just thrown into the pond, and I don't know if that was intentional or what, but those windows were very clean my first month at Steel Art. I am very observant, so I observed the workers, and I noticed that the culture had some improving to do. So I focused on the personnel. I kind of gravitated towards HR. We had a strong mentor in the HR office at the time. And I focused on the people, and I sat in all the reviews, and I heard all the complaints, and I listened, and eventually, it just became like this culture changing movement that took several years to achieve. But, we built a compensation system. We really rebuilt the culture of the company and turned around some pretty disenfranchised, unhappy employees. And then I started getting more focused in the production aspect, because as I'm trying to build this team of production managers, I need to learn a little bit about product and the process. So I hung out a lot with the production manager at that time, and I learned the production planning. And from then, about 5 years in, I became the vice president of operations. And for me, that meant, leading the team of experts that make our product and kind of showing them how to lead and what our philosophy was and, how we were going to do this. And, now I have this incredible team of 5 senior production managers who can run the show. They run the shop. They know what needs to get done. Thank God. So from washing windows to listening, to building a team, and then now as CEO, it's only been 2 years, and I am very immersed in the daily operations. I have 2 desks, one desk in the office and one desk right in between shipping and QC, and I sit there most of the time. And to get me in my office, you have to pull me by the hair. I want to be immersed, and I want to see the quality. I want to see if we're on time. So I'm very much still in operations. There's not much going on out there that I don't know about. And I think that will continue. I don't think I can change that. I want to be included and know what is going on at all times. And so we're just focused on growth. We've been growing year over year. We've got capacity issues, we're growing and our building is only so big, but we're working it out. We expanded next door. We moved some offices over there and expanded our manufacturing area.
That's great. So, and especially with the kind of products you guys make, this just production's not. It's not easy for a sign shop. Elizabeth knows too. She saw my shop. It was always a challenge to keep it organized and flowing correctly. So, just before we kind of move on to the next thing, Liz, I was just going to ask. Did you, when you first started and you came back, I'm sure you were around the shop a lot when you were a kid. So maybe some of those long-term employees saw you, and then now all of a sudden you're back and you're washing windows, but then you're diving in. How did you deal with was there some resistance to the change when you were trying to shift the culture? And if there was, did anybody have to,
I think there was. I don't think anybody ever said anything directly to me. I never had any direct insulting, experience with that. I saw an email here or there that was this bimbo thinks she knows what she's doing. But I never put that out there. I never claimed to know everything. Everybody knew that I came from a different industry. I had a master's in business, so I had that behind me. But you need experience, right? So I got my experience here. And I just was a sponge, and I was humble, and I asked questions, and I wasn't afraid to kind of you want to explain that? I don't know what you're talking about. Explain to me how you put this together, or how this product works, or, how this machine works. I just never claimed to know everything. And I think that helped people accept me.
Kind of on those same lines, for me, when I came in, I grew up, I came in several times and left several times when I was
fired.
young.
I
got fired a lot by him. I'd get fired, and then I'd get a call at 9:00 in the morning the next morning saying, "Where are you?" And I'd be like, "You fired me." And then he'd be like, that didn't matter. You need to be here. It was constant. We butted heads a lot. We didn't get along as well then as we do now. We're very similar in personality. So, but when I think I noticed more, my dad had started a sign company after I had left the industry and started developing my own career in accounting. And when he somehow sucked me back in and said, "Oh, I just need, a little bit of help with my books.
My books on the side."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I haven't set anything up and my taxes are due in 10 days. Can you do it for the whole year? I'm like,
yes.
Sure. Yeah, but this is just on the side. And then somehow on the side turned into every day. But here I am. Yeah. But I will say when I came back in, that was the first time I really at least recognized some comments of nepotism, right? Like, oh, she's just the owner's daughter. That's why she thinks she can tell us what to do. And it's like, no, it's because I'm looking at the health of the business. Like, I do know what to do. Did you kind of deal with any of that? I mean, there's one thing to come in and start washing windows. It's the next thing when you switch to VP, right? And I know that there's a lot of years in between those two, but once you start kind of directing the company, did you hear more comments of like, ooh, she's just the owner's daughter? That's great.
No, and I was very much focused in the production area. At the time, we had someone else in sales. I was not involved in sales at all. I was very focused on production. And I think when I came in, that back then it was mostly men, pretty much all men back there. I think they were relieved because I think at that time, what they needed was someone to really truly lead them and truly listen to what they needed. And that's what I did. And I was able to get things done for them that they had tried, to get done in the past, like the compensation system, and just the overall environment in which they were working. It just progressively got more and more comfortable. And I think that they quickly learned, no, she's good. She's not trying to just come in here and boss us around.
It lends really well to the next question, right? Which kind of leads us into our discussion of how you became a leader. And I know you said that some of the people in the shop were really responsive to having a woman who was there to listen and really make changes. But as a woman in this industry, as you mentioned, I mean, it's a minority. It's even still, it's become a lot different. And I think companies like yours is the reason it's kind of becoming different. But it's still the minority in this industry. Did you have anyone kind of push back because you're female, or were they just like, she knows what she's doing?
No, I've never really had anything like any resistance to me leading. I've sat at the conference table before with a couple of older gentlemen, and my father's here, and maybe I didn't get introduced, or maybe I didn't introduce myself, and they assume that I'm his secretary, or they're not making eye contact with me. They're not asking me questions. And then, maybe we'll get around to introducing who I am. And they're like, oh, hi, Ashley. And now they start talking to me. And it's like, okay, yeah. Like before they just were not, but I let it roll off my back because I just don't pay it any mind. Like you get what you feed, right? So I just roll with it and I never let it bother me.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. You can't. I mean, if you let all the microaggressions add up and start to actually get to you, then you're not going to get anywhere. And I know that even if we don't let them bother us, the little things of assuming you're a secretary, even though you're in a C-suite meeting, like assuming just not making the assumption that you're supposed to be there.
Yeah. There's a big difference depending on how old the person is. Like certain generations are just, and it's not their fault. I mean, it takes, it's a societal thing. Like
I'm not like that, Ashley. I just want to know.
Well, yeah. So, all right. So you learned
3 daughters. Yeah.
Not everybody learned. Hey, my dad has 3 daughters.
He's been the minority for a long time.
Yeah. So. But like younger people who come in, younger salespeople, it's like nothing. It's like, oh yeah, Ashley, you're the CEO. And it's just like a generational thing. And I don't fault anybody for that. I just kind of laugh it off and continue.
There are a lot of women who haven't received that welcoming, environment. And I think that it has, like you said, a lot to do with how you let people treat you or how you let it affect you. But then also it has to do with the environment that your grandfather and your father built. And that's important too. I know that for me, I think the most pushback I've had is more in meetings with like superintendents and GCs. Cause again, it's just here in Texas, we live in the South and it is a very Southern gentleman, good
Yeah,
old
I'm
boy
sure my
type
experience would be
environment.
a lot different if I was, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better. But I know when I first started at Studio Zoe, there were lots of on-site meetings that I went to that I was just like, okay,
Wow.
I'm going to be good.
Yeah. No,
Lots
I've
of
really
curse
been
words.
lucky, and I just pay it no mind. The nepotism
Good.
and that I just pay it no mind.
I like what you said right there. Your employees were sort of hungry for leadership, right? I think a lot of sign shops start off like that, where especially if you came from another sign shop and you were a fabricator or an installer. I was a salesperson at the sign shop, and then I started, sign tech, and some of the employees from the other sign shop came over and we were buddies, but then there reaches a critical point where you have to start transitioning from being like, we're a sign shop, we make cool stuff, we go drink beer after work together, to like, we have to run this like a business. We have to have benefits, we have to have structure, we have to have employee handbooks. And for me, like I had a harder time. Thankfully, we grew pretty quick. So I was able to hire a pretty hard, iron-fisted HR person that took that off my plate. But I had a real struggle with like having to write someone up for the first time, or, I don't know if you have any advice that you would give to somebody that's a leader that's saying like, hey, how do you deal with an employee that has to either change or go, and like live, like be okay with it, and why?
And to that end, like if you're in a medium-sized company, but like if it's smaller, how do you develop that culture without becoming friends and making it personal, and still be able to be that HR or that kind of have that line,
It has to be part of your personality. For me, it comes very naturally. I'm buddies with all the dudes out there and all the gals. I am out there all day. And for me, I am very easily able to shut the friend switch off and turn the business person or boss switch on. For me, that's very easy. But I think in the beginning, I had to train myself to realize people want to be told what to do. They want you to tell them what to do. They want clarity. They want a mission. They want you to tell them what to do. So tell them. And so, that's how I handle it. I say, this is what you're doing. This is what we want you to do. And if you can't go from here to here, I'm going to help you, right? I'm going to give you the tools and the advice you need to get there. And we give a lot of second chances. We help people along. But just tell yourself, people like to be told what to do. They don't like to come to work and not know. And if they come to work and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know if they can listen to their headphones, and they don't know if they can be scrolling on the phone during production hours, bring them in and let them know. So you let them know, and we have a couple of infractions, and then you get placed on a PIP, or performance improvement plan. And that is when things really get serious, and you have X amount of time to clean up your behavior, attitude, whatever it is that's going on. And it's always very clear. Like, if you don't stop this, whatever it is they're doing, we're going to move on. And I don't want that to happen. We've invested in you as an employee. We've trained you. Don't do this. This is not good for you as a human being. You want to be good at your job and follow the rules. And it's all about meeting those general expectations. If you can't meet those basic expectations, those are easy. Hit those.
Yeah. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to get there. I did eventually, and I did have somebody that would always, if we had to reprimand somebody, or we had also a system, if someone was written up, they would be on probation and would do reviews and all that stuff. But it took me a long time to get comfortable doing that. But I would say the one thing that helped me to get there quicker was, I agree 100%. Like, employees need direction, because they're not going to be successful, period, if you don't give them the direction they need to be successful. And then ultimately, when it came to finally the point where you had to let somebody go, I would have to tell myself in my head, I'm doing this for everybody else that works at the company. And because if they're at a point where they're, have been written up several times and they're just not performing, then it's really discouraging for the rest of the team. Like, oh man, Joe doesn't really care about us. Look, he keeps this bum around or whatever. No, I shouldn't say bum, but you know what I mean? So anyway, that helped me a lot, but it took me a long time. I was always wanting to be everyone's buddy,
Yeah, it takes practice. And I don't know why, but I do feel like I'm everybody's buddy. And the advice and encouragement and redirection that I give them is all a gift. It's from my heart. It's from, you want to be with me? You want to be with Steel Art? Then just do these things and we'll be fine.
I want to point out the difference in, I think it's a generational thing. So Ashley, you were talking about a PIP, and we use PIPs in our company. And Dad, you were talking about write-ups and probation. And I think that it's important to note that there's a change in the work landscape now. And I think that there are a lot of companies that are utilizing PIPs or performance improvement plans as opposed to probation. Not that probation doesn't have its place, but one is very much a punishment mindset. You're writing up, and you're being punished. And now I'm just trying to get my paperwork together to fire you. Let's call it what it is. A PIP and how we use it is so incredibly different. There are some companies that abuse it and use it similarly to probation, but that's not what it's intended for. And that's not what it's not what it's supposed to be. I think what you said is, this is coming from my heart. I've invested my time, money, effort, and emotion into you. And I want you to succeed here, because you not succeeding here is me not succeeding. So by putting you on this performance improvement plan, I'm teaching you exactly what I need. I'm telling you exactly what I need from you. And I'm giving you milestones of when to reach these things, so that we're continuing to check in with you, and we're continuing to talk about what's working and what's not working. And we've opened that line of communication, and it's not just a probation and let's ramp you up to fire you kind of thing. Although I also, Ashley, it's hit and miss. I am very blessed that my husband is gifted with the same personality trait of being able to be a friend in 1 second and a boss in the next. I do struggle with that. However, when it comes to, I'm also a very type A personality. So when it comes to the point where we actually are letting someone go, which luckily hasn't actually, I don't think we've ever fired someone in our company, which is wild. But when I did have to fire people prior to this in, my dad's old company, I didn't have an issue with it, because at that point I've gotten all of my documents together. You've made a case for yourself. This is the case you've built. And he really struggled with pulling saying the final words. And I'm like, nope, here you go. Here it is. This is just black and white at this point. I know, but I'm not as good as, I don't have the personality switch as much.
No, I can relate to what you're saying. I mean, the whole American dream, pulling some guy off the street, teaching them a job, giving them a healthy purpose in life, and, guiding them along. And when they fail, you feel like you failed them. So it's teamwork. It's just showing them the way clearly. As best you can. And, you can't fix everybody, but we do try. We do give a lot of second chances here at Steel Art. And I do believe that helps us with our overall retention and loyalty and people who really work hard for us.
All that being said, I mean, this just kind of starts to add up in people's minds, I'm sure. But being an owner, I mean, that's just one of so many responsibilities, right? You're constantly working on the business and in the business, and you're trying to make sure you're maintaining your staff and maintaining their happiness and their success, so that you can maintain your happiness and your success. It's a lot. It's a pressure.
I also have 2 children. I have 2 kids too. Yeah.
Personal life not included. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other, then you're expected to let this go enough to function as a person. So you have to have an outlet in order to do that. It's some level. Either it's a support system, a mentoring system, or just a personal outlet. So what are yours? What is something that you have found that you do to kind of make sure that you're putting yourself in a place where you can relieve some of your burdens and recharge and also continue to grow as a leader?
Well, I used to be better at putting myself first, but that went away when I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. So there's not a lot of that space in my life right now. Going home and hugging my babies and sitting with them and just recalibrating myself to mom. That is my relaxation time. When I get home, I hold on to them, and then we just start cooking dinner, and I just go into my funk. I put my music on, and that's what I enjoy right now. Would I love to go to the gym and take some yoga classes? Sure, but right now it's just not in the cards, because we're juggling, right? We're juggling the business, we're juggling home. I have a lot of help. I have my husband here. He's our COO, our director of sales. I have my father here. There's always someone breathing down my neck wondering, how I'm doing or if I have anything I need to talk about. So I have a ton of support. I have a fabulous nanny at home. She's been with us 7 years. My son will be 7. So yeah, almost 7 years. And I ask for help when I need it. And when I need a break, I take it. And I have to say, being a mom and a business owner is not easy. It is very demanding. And you just steal those moments of relaxation, when you can. But right now with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, it is not easy.
I want to highlight a couple things you said, though. Like, first is being a mom and being an owner is not easy, but you asked for help when you needed it. As a woman, I think as anyone, I can only speak to my experience as a woman. As a very independent, you can ask my husband, he's constantly saying, just ask for help. It is so hard sometimes for me to not just say, hey, yeah, because I can get it done. I can do it. I'm fine, right? I got it. But that's not sustainable. But also, you said, you'd love to do a yoga class or do something. That's all fine. That's all great. But relaxation or outlets or recharging comes in so many different forms. So for you right now, recharging is spending that time with your family and checking out of work enough to be there in the moment with them. That is a recharge. That's a personality and a soul recharge, right? And as someone who has a 23-year-old daughter, take those moments while you have them, because in a few years, yours is 7. Your son is 7, so that's good. I had a daughter, but 13 changes things monumentally. So take those recharge moments while you have them.
Yeah, he still wants to be mama's boy and gives me hugs and stuff, but I know that's it's going to be fleeting.
Boys always love them.
A little different.
I hope
boys
so.
Always love their mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of asking for help, right? That's kind of our next question that we're going to talk about too is delegation. So Elizabeth, by the way, you said Joe asked this question because of my generation. What were you saying there?
Old.
It never ends.
I have to think you're old, or else I'm old.
I think asking for help is another big challenge that a lot of business owners have, and a lot of times it will stunt the growth of the company, right? So, I wasn't always the greatest delegator. It's easier for me to do it myself. And have you kind of wrestled with that from time to time? And what advice might you give to someone that's really trying to take their sign shop and make it a strong business?
Yeah. So it's our job as the owner to put the right people in the right positions to do the jobs that need to get done. So we do that. We have to do that, and we have to let them do it. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. So, you can help people along, but you got to give them the task. Let them do it. You don't have to do everything. You can't do everything. So I've got this fabulous production management team. They're handling things. They'll come to me if they need me. And that took a long time to realize, a lot of years to realize that they've got it. So let them. So put people in the right positions that you trust and do good work, and they'll do it for you. I've never struggled with delegating. I did struggle with trying to micromanage and make sure they were doing it the way I wanted them to, but that's not fair. You got to let them run with it.
Well, and especially if you give them a little bit of, wiggle room too, because if they're smart and creative people, they're going to maybe solve problems in a way that's
way
even
better than I
could.
would. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no question.
It's hard to trust though, right? It's a trust issue. It's hard because you think of the company as a whole as your baby, but it's, in some ways it's, yes, you're responsible for all the moving parts, but it belongs to everyone. If you're really building a strong team and they love the company, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you find out, at least for me, delegating, when you do let go of something finally, it's like, wow, I have so much time to do, like we've talked about on the podcast previously, like as the owner, your focus has to be on the business, not always in the business. And in order to do that, you have to let go of certain things. You have to
stand back to see the big picture.
Right. And if you're so focused on this minor detail or this one person, and if they're doing every single thing right the way you want them to do it, you're not going to get that bigger picture. So like not micromanaging, not delegating, right? Like not micromanaging is important and delegating is so important so that you can work on the business. So for me, I think pretty similar to you. I've done a lot of different things in the sign shop. I've definitely built odd end things, but I have never in my life built a sign. And I have no desire to do that. I just know people that do it really well. But sometimes, at least in meetings, that definitely triggers a level of, between being a woman in a male-dominated industry in the South, I'll give an asterisk there. And then also sometimes being a younger generation individual in such an older generation industry, we kind of sometimes forget how much older people are than us. And when we walk in the room and they're like, "Oh, hey, sweetheart," and you're like, "Oh," but it's been hard sometimes for me. Imposter syndrome, I think, is my biggest issue, right? And how do you kind of overcome those feelings? Have you struggled with this? If so, like, have you overcome it? Or if not, like, how?
It's an icky feeling to be sitting around a table and, having to pretend that you know what they're talking about. And, you just kind of fake it till you make it. You just, I never said that I know everything. I know some things, but the details on how to apply the LEDs into the face of the letter, no, I don't know those things. And I've always been fine with that, just roll up your sleeves and get in there and be a sponge, ask questions, be humble. And people love to show you what they can do. They love to show you how good they are at doing this or how fast they can do this because you've only done it once, and you just let them show you, and you just pick up as much as you can. And I'll never know how to make a letter. I'll never know how to make a letter, from cutting it on the water jet to spraying the lacquer. I used to work in shipping, so I know how to ship it and I know how to QC it. But when it comes to, really making the stuff, like I rely on my team of professionals that I put in place, and I get them. They're a resource. If I need them, I call on them.
Something you said is ask questions, be a sponge. And I think that's always kind of been my thing, like, normalize asking questions. It's not bad to ask a question. And there are a lot of people that like will make you feel like it's bad to ask a question, but it's literally how you learn. But also remind yourself, like what I've done in meetings with very technical meetings with GCs, throwing out code terms. And like, I remind myself, I'm not an architect. Like I don't design buildings. So if I don't know what you're referring to, it doesn't make me not know what I do know.
Yeah. You're an expert at what you're an expert at.
I'm an expert at what I know. And then if it comes to someone building a sign, and I start to feel that imposter syndrome, and this isn't intended to sound like I'm making less of what they do. It's just, I do remind myself, like, they might know how to build this sign, but I know how to balance a ledger. Like they might not know that, and that's
Right.
okay. Those are very
keep their project come in on budget. That's
yeah, like those are very
important.
different things, and it takes everybody. It takes a team to really have a successful business.
Right, and I help build the team and foster the culture that supports the making of those signs.
And that's, as a leader, what you need to do, right? That's how you transition from thinking about I'm in a company building everything to now I'm building a company, right? That's kind of that mind switch. So that's amazing. And I know this wasn't on our list of questions, so I'm so sorry to just throw it out there for you, but I would like to talk about how you've changed your work landscape in terms of employees and how you've brought in, I know you've brought in a lot of women.
Lots of ladies. I love women.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
12 years ago, I'd walk out onto the shop floor and there were no women. None. Now I walk out there and I think there's probably 15, at least 15. And I love women. They work great. They're fantastic. And I wouldn't change that. So, I've hired a lot of women. I have a lot of women in management. We always, promote from within.
For me, it's understanding that as the owner of a business, if you see something you want more women in this industry, make it happen. Like for us, our company, we're significantly smaller than you. We're a total of 7, but we're women owned and the majority of our employees are women. And we're a design studio and ours that focuses on sign design and wayfinding design. And our business, every single person in our company is a graphic designer. That's their degree, except for me. I am the only one. All of our project managers, all of our designers, our marketing manager, like everyone's degree is graphic design, because to us, that was what we wanted to see brought to this industry. So this is the company that we built. So I think it's just important to remember, like, if you're going to jump and if you're going to take this leap, do what the heck you want to do. Like to a certain degree, why build your own company if you're not going to do it the way you want to do it?
Yeah. No, it's been incremental because it wasn't my company. It's my dad's company. And, I've run the company for 2 years now, but before that, it was like, I had to earn that credibility. And now I do what I want. I've been doing what I want for quite some time now. Probably after 2 years or so, I just started doing what I wanted to do. And maybe that was the purpose of that running room that was given to me in the beginning, washing windows. I just ended up making it happen because what else was there to do? No one was telling me what to do. So.
Yeah. So, like when you're working and you have so many different things on your plate, even if you have a team, it's so important to delegate. So how do you balance all the things on your plate?
There's one quote that I love, and well, it's not a quote, it's really like an analogy. If you can think of all your problems as either glass balls or rubber balls. Have you ever heard this? So it's kind of like a juggling analogy. If the problem is a rubber ball, if you drop it, it's going to bounce and you're not going to have too much damage, right? You can pick it up and keep going tomorrow. But if you have this ball and it's going and it's glass, and if you drop it, the damage is going to be colossal, or you're going to hurt someone's spirit. You're going to, not be able to recover quickly from it. So if you can just keep those rubber balls in the air and not drop the glass ones, that's how I prioritize. I say to myself, I got hit with 7 issues when I walked in the door. Some of them are glass, some of them are rubber, and that helps me to prioritize.
I love it.
I do love that. That's a great saying.
I broke a lot of glass balls when I had
I probably do every day, but progress, not perfection.
That's right. Progress, not perfection, for sure. Okay, Liz, hit up Ashley with the rapid fire ending questions.
So, Ashley, every single podcast guest, whether they like it or not, gets rapid fire questions. They're the same rapid fire questions we ask anyone. So I guess I'll kick them off because I don't think Joe has them in front of him today. But the first one is top lesson you wished you didn't learn the hard way.
Yeah, so that's the whole, you can't do everything yourself, and you have to delegate and you have to prioritize. And I once tried to fix all the problems at one time, and you burn out. And that is when I learned that rubber ball versus glass ball, which one are you going to keep in the air? Which one are you going to let bounce?
Awesome. Okay. And the next one we call happy endings. So you can choose your own ending type scenario. You can either talk about the happiest reaction that you had like after a project, or a project just so bad you were so happy it ended.
So yeah, no, the winning the Boston Globe best workplace, actually my happy ending has been happening every year for 7 years. And that is at the root of why I get up every morning is helping people live their lives in a positive way, and being a part of the American dream, and just being a great place to work, great place to be.
That's great.
Awesome.
Love it.
So if not the sign industry, I know you've done other things, but if it were today and it wasn't the sign industry, what would you be doing?
I probably would have continued in furniture. I was doing very well. And I liked it. It was a fun thing to do. It was retail, so it was a lot of weekends, but I probably would have done that for a long time, and I probably would have taken some time off to raise my children. But now the business is one of my children, so I have to split my time.
Spoken like a true sign shop owner.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you for telling us a little bit about your story and all the amazing things you've done for Steel Art. I know it's a very established business, but making your mark on an established business is such an amazing accomplishment, and running it the way you are is really cool.
Thank you for having me. I'm very flattered and honored to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you, Ashley. And we should say, by the way, and we'll probably put this in the intro too, but for all you sign shops out there, steelart.com. Phenomenal. We'll put it in the notes and all that too, but you guys just offer such phenomenal products as wholesaler providers to the sign industry. So if you are looking to up your game and sell more creative projects, go see Ashley.
Yes. Thank you.
Or one of her team members.
Or my husband, our director of sales, Greg Miner. Yes.